Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Elite Physique University. I'm John Gorman, your host, joined by Master Shredder, Mr. IFBB Pro Prep Master himself, Jason Theobald, all lean as shit. Jason, what's going on, man? How are you?
Going all right. About 2 weeks into prep. Started 8 weeks out this time instead of 3.5. So that should give me a lot more time.
Your physique's gonna feel a little bit better coming into this next show,
I
huh?
think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm growing and getting leaner pretty much by the day. So, I have bouts of like tired energy and hungry, but I can't complain really. So, things are good there.
Yeah, we're gonna do a deep dive. Our very next episode is going to be a deep dive into your prep. And I'm really going to dig deep, man. So be ready for that. We're going to go into everything, not just your macros and your training and cardio and food choices. We're going to talk about being busy and running businesses and how you manage your stress and how you take days to recover. And it's going to be a pretty insightful episode, especially whether someone's advanced or not. It's going to be a good look in for them. But if you've never prepped before, it's going to be unlike anything that you've ever thought about, because most people just think about the dieting and the training and food prep and stuff like that. Like, this will be pretty advanced. Let's go ahead and get into our topic here in just a minute. But first, what's new with you, man? Do you have anything new coming?
Yeah, I'll give a few things. I know I've talked about low liposomal L-carnitine. And finally, we have a date. It's August 26th. I don't see any problems with that date, and so that should be dropping then. So thank God, because it's been a while and maybe. Let's see. I filled my mentorship spots. I had two open. Got a lot of inquiries, and I want to go ahead and just let everyone know that this is something I will continue to do. Right now with prep, I'm probably not going to take another one until someone drops off. But if someone is interested, they can email me and I will put them in a file folder on a waiting list, as first come, first serve, like in terms of asking. So it never hurts to reach out if you're interested in that. I think that's my only two things really that I have. So I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, man. You guys always know you can check the show notes if you need to email myself or Jason. So if you want to talk to Jason about that, it seems like a pretty badass way to go ahead and fast track. If you're a coach and you want to learn from the top coaches in the business, Jason's right here. Give him a shout. That email's right there in your show notes. For me, man, I got to spend a nice week away in St. Louis. I rented a Tesla for a few days and drove that around. I keep thinking about biting the bullet and getting one. I've driven one twice now, two different ones. It's just hard to justify spending, 80 grand on a Model S, and then you've got to have the charger and stuff installed in your house, and they're out of stock right now, but they're pretty awesome. But, I got to take a break and relax, man. And you guys will notice too, that have been listening to the show, we're not behind. We're just slow right now. And we knew with Jason starting prep and with everything that I've got going on my side and your side, we slowed these episodes down a little bit, and that's fine. And when things slow down, maybe, towards the end of the year, we'll kick them back up to every week. But that's kind of been it. We did just drop a new Hard to Kill. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it now. It's Sour Gummy. We just dropped it today. And I think it's August 12th is the day we're recording. Yeah. Man, it's already been a hit. It's only been out a few hours. So just lots of grinding, but also a lot of relaxation. I've got a huge pool tournament to play in this weekend, and that's my way of getting away. So I've
Where
just
is
been
it?
trying. It's here in Springfield. It's a 2-day tournament, and it's rated. So they won't let pros in. Think about it like in bodybuilding terms. It would be like nationals, right? You can't be a pro, but you get some of the better amateurs that come compete. Yeah, it's going to be a tournament like that, and it's rated. So I'm right at the top of the rating. I actually went over by 1 point, but they're going to let me play in it. So yeah, man, go try and snap it off and win a few
How
grand.
did you
And
get rated?
they take all your tournaments that you've played in,
Okay.
and those are all reported into this giant database.
Okay.
And say if I beat a really high rated player, it makes my ranking go up really high. If I lose to a high rated player, like, it just does all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
What's your goal with this? Is it to go pro or just to have fun and see where it takes you?
I have a goal in the next 5 years to play in the US Open, which is kind of, to me, the elite of the elite, and just be
Pro.
able to play and, yeah, as a pro, and be able to say that I belong to become a world champion and things like that. We'll do a future episode on something, but Man, you almost have to be obsessed. And that's with anything, physique enhancement, becoming the best pool player in the world doesn't matter. Like, you have to let some things go. And I just cannot play pool for 8 to 10 hours a day. And that's literally what it would take. Like, that's what it takes. And there's just no possible way, but I'm getting better fast and I'm very competitive, and it's kind of stoking that fire for me.
You go pro. Is there a pro turning tournament? You got to win it all, or how's that work?
They, you know what? I don't know, man. Like,
Okay.
pool is not the most respected sport in the world, and they keep having a lot of. I mean, you think about it, it's a bar sport for the most
Sure.
part, and they try to have people run it, and they don't always have the best interest in mind. So leagues have kind of come and gone, and I really don't know at this point. I know I'll figure it out as
Okay.
things go. So
Cool.
yeah, man. So let's go ahead and jump into this episode. This is another fun one that I stole off of your Instagram page, and then I added my own to it. This is the top 5 things that clients hide from coaches, and this this will be a fun episode. And if you guys haven't checked out Jason's social, he's really been putting out some really good content. You don't have to read a ton. He's got it in the graphics and stuff. So go check out his Instagram. But we're just going to kick these off, and we're going to go over year 5, and then I've got 3 bonus ones that are kind of fun. Before we do this, though, Jason, let's talk about real quick and remind people why they hire a coach, or if you've never worked with a coach, why you would hire a coach, because we see clients kind of take the reins sometimes and they shouldn't, and they forget why they hired a coach. But people come to you. What's the main reason they're coming to you?
I mean, I believe it's to get from A to Z in a much more efficient, safe, faster way. I went through the sport probably 10 years before there was any even coaches around. Like, you would just find a few gym rats who maybe looked like they body built, and you'd pick their ear, and then message boards finally came around. But you were kind of at the mercy of you just playing around with it. And that's fun. And some people that's fun, but if you want to get somewhere quicker, that's why you hire a coach. They
Yeah.
kind of they kind of streamline it for you. They give you an organized plan, and you get working.
It's like a basketball team. You can have a great basketball player, but that doesn't mean they know every single in and out of every single position and how to run a team. And, a coach is a coach for a reason, because they understand how to specifically work in all kinds of different environments and dynamics and with different people. And, with coaches like you and I, dude, we've got the full gamut of clients, right? So we've been there, we've done that for well over a decade. And that's what people need to remember when they hire a coach. You're hiring somebody to take the reins because they know what's best. And if you don't trust that coach, you're kind of wasting your time. So, with that being said, man, let's go ahead and start with number 1. And this is a good one. We'll drill down on this a little bit. You put adding more training on your own. Talk about that.
Well, I think when we're all new at something or new-ish, we think more is better. And so, that's not always the case, especially with training, and more so with women, and with men. But, so there's a good, what do you want to call it? Like, saying where it's like, you should work smarter, not harder. And so, yes, you want to work hard within that smart realm, but you don't want to just push because you do it. And so if a coach has you training 4 days a week, if you don't like it, ask why. Like, why? Why are we only doing 4? Like, they should have a reason for it. Why are we only doing 3? There should be a reason. So, if you go adding more training, maybe they see something in your feedback. You're not sleeping well, your digestion's off, and they shouldn't comment and say, I'm going to pull your training back because of this. But in either event, like, if it's being done, it should be being done for a reason. And so if you go adding extra training because you think that's going to get you there quicker, you're probably actually causing more problems and for yourself than good. And if you don't like it, then you should discuss with your coach why something's going on. Don't just add the training and think you know best.
Yeah, it's one of those things too, man. I see it all the time that, I've got a really, really good athlete that competes with me every few years. And every time he goes to the fucking gym, he has to train 40 sets per body part. Like, it has to be high volume. It just has to be. And guess what? He hasn't grown in the last 5 fucking years. Like, he just hasn't. And he doesn't listen to me. I don't look like he does. And that's part of it. And I think sometimes that kind of plays a role as a coach, and I'm sure you get this from time to time. You're not a 250-pound fucking off-season bodybuilder or on stage bodybuilder. And why would the quote unquote big guys want to listen to you, even though they should fucking be listening to you and hiring you? We kind of get that as a coach sometimes. So here I am, a coach that just kind of works to maintain and look and have a decent physique. And some of these guys don't want to listen to me because I don't practice what I preach necessarily, even though I know what I'm talking about. So do you run into that? Do you still have some issues with that, with coaches kind of judging you based on your physique? I mean, obviously you're an IFBB pro and you've got an elite physique, but do you still run into that at all?
I think, it's one of those things where that's probably why I don't have a ton of, 280-pound guys, that we're bringing on stage 60, because they probably want that coach that, mimics that. But at the same time, like a lot of the guys that are at the top right now coaching the bigger guys, you got Andrew Vu. I mean, he doesn't even bodybuild anymore. Maybe he works out. I don't know. I mean, so I don't want anyone to go sharing this and say he said he doesn't work out. But I mean, I just don't think he's really into it much anymore in terms of his own physique. I know Matt Jansen has pulled back and he's coaching the top guys. So I don't know. Maybe I get some. I think I get more judgment because I wanted to help women and, go down that functional route. And I help men with it too. They just don't have as much problems, right? And so I think I get more judgment there in that, oh, he's a bikini coach or, oh, he's, a functional coach. Well, guess what? Like I apply those same principles to myself to make my body much more efficient. And that's
Right.
why since 2016, I've zoomed. So, people do judge. It's what it is, but my business has got a lot better since I went down that route. And I have a lot of awesome stories of really impacting lives. So I sleep well at
Yeah. Let's move on to number 2, man. And I see this one a little bit more than number 1. Adding more cardio on your own. How often are you seeing that?
night. I do see it actually a decent amount. Yeah, I mean, like today I actually had a bodybuilder check in and, he's like, oh, the scale went up a couple times. We are getting ready for a big show and he wants to hit 176. Like I did 30 minutes like 3 times this week post-workout, that I necessarily wasn't supposed to do, but I was just walking. You know what? He supplemented well. He's peeled. We do got to make 176. I was fine with it. He's more advanced, but at the same time, he did it on his own, and I was fine with it. And I ended up adding, I think, 1 session and pulling the other 2 back. So it happens. I still don't think that it's one of those things you should do without talking to the coach. I think what you should do is say, hey, I don't really feel that hungry. I don't feel like I'm working that hard. My weight's stagnant. What do you think about maybe moving a little bit more here? Or, in the past, I've done XYZ in my preps and it's worked well. And I don't have a problem with that. I had a girl reach out recently to me. We're 14 weeks out and she goes, what's really worked well for me is 3 low, 1 high. And I said, yeah, I love that, but we're 14 weeks out. I don't have your carbs that low yet. We will get there. And I'm actually going to use that with you. But she just brought it up nicely. She, I don't want to step on your toes. I just want you to know what's worked for me in the past. And I'm like, yeah, great. I appreciate it. And I really like that. And I probably will do that with you. So it's about communicating. But yeah, I get people adding a little extra cardio, a good amount, man. And, I work with a lot of functional cases and they can't be adding it.
Right.
But slow walking out in nature, I actually am okay with. So if they're like, hey, I want to move a little bit more, that I'm okay with. But getting on a treadmill, building up, issues with CNS, I'm not cool with. But, just a little moving more, a little slow walk, talking with the neighbor if you're doing it, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, I'm okay with that. But talk to your coach. Like, I think the end of this episode, it's all going to be about communication. Communicate with your coach. There's a right way to do it. And if they're a good coach, they're not going to be offended that you want to give some input into your prep or your fat loss for just your fitness journey.
Yeah. What I see happen too is I'll usually find out towards the end. So, I'll take somebody from 30 minutes to 35 or 40 minutes, right? And when it starts getting closer to the end, they kind of start spilling the beans. They say, hey, I'm already at an hour. I was like, what? How long have you been doing that? Like, it's my job to try and keep track of what the hell's going on. And normally they'll spill the beans, but I don't get it as much. The people I get it from the most are the people that are addicted to exercise. Had a girl come to me not long ago. She did, 3 spin classes a week. She did one aerobics class, and then she was working out 5 days a week, and her body was stuck. So I had to literally talk her into pulling back her training to 4 days a week and dropping all of the all the spin classes. I was like, you're going to have to trust me. And man, it was 3 weeks of her just arguing left and right as her weight was dropping. So
Okay.
I know she pulled him out because her weight started dropping, but man, she could not wait to like get back to all that exercising. So, sometimes it's just a battle, and we all have our shit, right? We all have our things we have problems with, and some people just want to exercise all the time, but I don't get a lot of that, but that's always the one that's the hardest to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. The spin people are tough.
Yeah.
And I get a decent amount of them that have, metabolic adaptations with
Yeah.
hormonal dysregulation. And it's tough, man. I've had probably 3 or 4 spin instructors that I've had to help.
Those are
And
hard.
that's harder because like, oh, I got to be cranking it with them. I'm like, you can keep it on light and act like you're doing it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Like, we have to pull back. So yeah, that can be tough. But yeah, adding cardio, what happens is, so you understand out there listening, if you're newer to the sport, once you create a baseline, it's really hard to go back. I mean, if you're way overdoing it, like John said, sometimes pulling it back, you do start to lose weight. But if you're in a prep or something, and you're a pretty lean person already, and you've pushed your cardio from 40 minutes that the coach wanted to 60, it's really hard for the coach to go back to 45 and get a response.
Yep.
There might be some inflammation drop, but it's really hard once you created that base and you're deep in prep to kind of pull back at that point. So, if you don't want to kind of set a baseline where they can't, go back from, just listen. And then if you think it's not enough, communicate. Like, that's how you do this.
Yeah, that's a good point. Number 3, binge eating. Talk about that, about not telling your coach when you binge eat.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that not binge eat, but might just not do what they're supposed to do, right? And honestly, most of them tell me, but it's one of those things where it's best to tell your coach so that they can walk you through it. And a lot of times, like, what I find is there's a lot of guilt. Like, people have a lot of guilt about it, and we're all human. And listen, if you're in prep, yeah, I mean, you should be at the point where you're at least intermediate to advanced trainer. You put yourself in this position, right? None of us are forced to prep and be hungry. But if you're one of those people that you're newer at this, you're just getting going, like, there's no reason to hide the fact that you ate off plan and maybe overindulged. The reason you should tell your coach is not because they're going to punish you, and the coach should never punish you for that. I always just say, let's get back to plan. If someone is punishing you for it, now they're like, oh, now we're pulling 500 calories.
Yeah.
Find another coach. But they can help you understand kind of why maybe that's happening, walk you through it. Maybe there was a stressful event, so the next time, maybe you can grab a coffee or a diet soda, or go for a walk and change the thought behavior. Sometimes just getting out of the house, but they can help you kind of walk through that. So not telling them, you're not building the skills for later to get by it. And also, you might be starving. Maybe you are freaking starving, and you're on you're on an off season like cut, or you're just trying to look good for the beach, and maybe they do have you too low. Coaches are human too, and we have to take mulligans all the time. So communicate with them. Maybe it is too low, and it's going to keep triggering it, and you've got to take the fat loss slower. And I've been there before. I've had someone too low. They finally come clean. They're not sleeping well. All they can think about is food. They're not able to keep their eyes open at 2 p.m. And I'm like, you know what? This is just going to go down the wrong path. Let's up your carbs 20 or 30. Let's pull cardio back this week. We'll see if we get a response, and we can push forward there. So it's better to communicate than to hide it. It really is. And then plus, like, if your weight spikes, like, we're not dumb. Like, if your weight's up 3 or 4 pounds, like, just come clean. We generally kind of know that something's off, where I usually ask. Like, if they don't say anything, I'm like, hey, like, did you have a bad period? Did you eat off plan? Were you flying? What was going on here? And then a lot of times, the truth comes out. But yeah, those are some of the reasons why, like, you just really kind of want to communicate. Don't hide it.
Yeah. And you know what, man, we're going to jump right into the next one because it kind of piggybacks on this. we talked about binge eating, and I think about, prep clients a little bit more in this next one, cheating on your prep diet, right? Because it's different when you have some Gen Pop, but
Yeah.
man, you really need to talk to your coach when you cheat on your prep diet. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, listen, like I kind of said, um, no one forced you to decide to prep. And, there's a standard that must be met if you're going to get on stage, or at least you should want to be. And there's going to be times of intense hunger where all you can think about is food. You probably, if you haven't heard me say it, I tell people once you compete, you're never going to look at your body the same and you're never going to look at food the same.
Yeah.
And you should understand that going in. And, so there's going to be times where you are just ravenous. Do people fuck up? Sure, it happens all the time. But if you talk to your coach about what's going on, how you're feeling, there might be things they can do. Like, I might say, go have a salad with a few cucumbers in it. Like, it's better to do that. It's probably 70 calories, fill you up, maybe have a diet soda. There's ways around it that, could get you through to the next meal and you don't have those cheat meals. But it happens. But you should at least talk to your coach because, again, they can kind of help you with maybe some things that will allow you to get past that next time because, it's really just not going to work in terms of the proper standards if it's something that keeps going. And the last thing that I tell my people is this: ask yourself, what would the fucking winner do? Like, do you think the winner would have done what you did? And if you think yes, well, all right. But my answer would probably be no. They would have figured it out. They would have went for a walk. They would have ate a little salad. They would have just been hungry. So ask yourself, what would the winner do in this situation? And that always drove me to be like, all right, I got to get this cardio done. All right, yeah, that freaking cake looks good, but I'm not eating it because I want to be the winner. So
Yeah, you know what? I just sent an email out a few days ago. I've got a show here coming up. It's an IPE pro show, and I've got like 9 pros doing it. It's a big show for me this year. And they're down, they're only like 3 weeks out. And they're down in that struggle. They're down the deep grind. And one of the females I told, I was like, hey, listen, this is where you win right here. Like, this is where the girls on stage with you doing pro figure, some of them are going to be soft. Some of them are getting fucked up on your diet. I was like, you can actually beat them right here and now. I was like, that's what winners do. And you leave no room for regret whenever you get on stage. And a lot of people think, that you win as soon as you get on stage, but it's the grind that goes into it. And I try and remind, because I know they're struggling. I know they're hungry as fuck. Like, they're tired, but that's part of it. That's like you said, you choose to do that. So you've got to kind of take it. Number 5, man, this is a good one. And this is why I don't work with a lot of assisted athletes anymore, man. Cause this used to drive me batshit fucking crazy. Talk about adding more gear on your own.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. There's a thought process that you're only as big as your dose and only as good as your dose, and that goes around the message boards.
Right.
And listen, sure, some responders you take more, you get bigger, and there's some truth to that. But at the end of the day, you're only going to grow so fast. You're only going to hold so much muscle in the show. You don't need as much as you think to hold the muscle. And your coach has been there. They've done it. They know the level you're competing at. They know what gear would take to do well there. And you're relying on them to kind of set up something because you really didn't know what to set up. That's one of the reasons sometimes people hire coaches is to get the gear cycles. And so, adding certain compounds, like let's say you're not very versed in what trend feels like. And your coach has you taking 150 mgs because you're new at it, and you go ahead and do 500 or 300. You might not finish the prep because you're not used to it. You're not used to how it feels. A lot of people get weird depression, weird anxiety. So your coach is setting it up in a situation to have you be as successful as possible. And so if you just go adding things, you could kind of mess up the results. Like maybe you add something like test and you really just don't need more. And now you're watery. And the coach is like, why are your weight's going up? All right, well, shit. Maybe we got to pull more food, And so then they're getting different biofeedback and seeing you look a little more watery. Maybe you add some GH, same thing, scale goes up, you look a little more watery. If they have you at 4 IUs, they kind of know what your look's going to be like. And so, if you start adding, things kind of change. If you don't think something is sufficient or you want to know why, like ask your coach. Sometimes I get guys that, say, oh, well, I've already done 300 mgs of tren. That's what I do every time. I'm like, all right, well, then we'll bump it from 225 a week. Let's see how you do. Talk to your coach again. Like, there's no reason to just do it on your own. And they might have a really good reason why they have you at the amount they have you on. So it makes sense to just have a conversation rather than just go throwing it in there on your own.
Yeah, it drove me nuts enough that pretty much from 2015 on, I just stopped fucking with it, man, because I would get too many people not doing what they need to do, especially leading into the show, and it would just affect their look, and it drove me nuts. So I just kind of quit. And then having a lot more natural athletes, I get a lot of people that they're just not going to listen to me. So, which is fine. I would have a lot of state level competitors, not upper level, national level, or IFBB pro. Like, I didn't really have to go that in depth. So a lot of the people I was helping out with was the basics, which I know very well, and they wouldn't listen. And a lot of the times I found out they were just listening to the other guys in the fucking gym, and they would trust them over me. Now, you're probably not going to have that problem. John Gorman from Springfield, Missouri did. So I just kind of let go of it, and that was fine with me. Man, we've got 3 bonus ones that I know we both have to deal with at times. This one's not super common, but it's one that I want our people to listen to. If you're hiring coach, don't let this happen. So here in my area, if I've got a client that just can't pose for shit, I mean, I can't Zoom with every single or FaceTime with every single client of mine. I just can't. And if you just can't get your posing down, you need to hire a posing coach. Like, that's just part of it. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a posing coach interject their thoughts and even try and poach a client, because the client is telling them, oh, here's what my peak week looks like, or here's what my diet looks like. And I've had people around here being like, oh, you need a cheat meal. Oh, those calories are too low. And they're doing all that. And from now, I started this probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. I tell my clients, I'm like, hey, you need a posing coach, but do not talk to them about your diet. Don't talk to them about my plan with you, because the last thing you need is people in your head creating doubt. Something that you've had to deal a lot with on your end?
You know what? I never really had that. I've had other coaches interject, my clients will ask them about something along these lines, and then they'll give their opinion and they come back. But as far as the posing coaches, Kenny Wallach has done a lot of my stuff for the men. He's always very complimentary of my coaching. And then Kate Lane has done a lot of my women. And so, no, I haven't really had that from them. But yeah, coaches, I think there's some times where clients, I think, go ask other coaches something, and then, they get an input, but not too often. But at the same time, just so everyone knows, like, you're dieting, you're going to be flat. So you're not going to have a ton of pop, and they don't know context. Like, maybe you're on 4 lows and 1 high, and you're on your 4th low day and you're about to get a high. Maybe you had calories worked up in the off season, and you're just one of those people that have a highly adaptive metabolism like Austin Stout, and I still got to take him down to 1,800 to 1,600 calories when I diet. They don't know that because they've never worked with him, and they see this big guy and they're like, this guy should be eating 2,500 calories. So they don't know context. And so a lot of times, even when I get hit up, I try to be like, man, I just don't know all the context behind everything. Like, you should follow your coach, So.
And the next bonus one's kind of a piggyback off of that. I've had clients before, and I don't get this much, but still our listeners need to hear this. Like, things like cutting water and salt, because you show your friends your peak week, like your buddies at the gym or somebody that's maybe done one show. I've had clients come back and say, hey, my friends are saying I have to cut my salt. I have to take this diuretic. I have to this, and this, like, this won't work. And I have to explain to my clients all the time. I just show them the pictures. I was like, here's what this person did. They're doing pretty close to the same thing with water and things like that and salt, and they're not pulling you that, and that's what they look like. And then I showed them pictures of people that did that. And, I quit having to show them, but sometimes I guess my point is when you start letting people in on what you're doing, everyone wants to sound like they know what they're doing or they want to sound important, especially if they've done one show. And dude, here's the thing. One of your clients could send me a plan. And if I wanted to be a dick, I could pick it apart. It doesn't mean it's right. You could do the same to mine because we all have our different spin on things, but you have to be real careful with who you let in. I guess that's kind of my point there. Do you have anything that you want to add to that or any funny stories you've had happen with that?
No, I'm sure it's happened and I'm sure they changed things, but I don't know of anything where like I had it blow, something blown up because a coach stuck their nose in or a client changed it. At least I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's the last one. And this is one that I know I've got some, and they're going to be females listening, that I kind of busted their chops here in the last year. So that's finally made its way to a podcast. They're like, "Oh my God, are you gonna say something?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm just not gonna say your names." And it's almost always females, but here it goes. Not using all the recommended supplements during your prep or your diet. And there's a reason why you and we're both big on supplements, not because we own a supplement company, because we understand there are times and places where it works. And I know these girls are laughing right now. During my peak week, I tell them, do not pull creatine out. Like there's certain things I tell them, don't pull creatine out, like pull your sweeteners and like EAs and all that. Do not pull your creatine and your salt out. And I will get every time, man, females they'll say, "Hey, I haven't been using creatine this whole time." And I'm like,
Yeah.
the fuck are you talking about? Like you just prepped 20 weeks. Like the creatine is huge for muscle retention and strength and your look.
Exactly.
But there's other products like Cordy's, like your Cordy's product. My clients better be fucking taking that during prep. Like, I'm sorry, it makes dropping fat easier. Is this something that you run into, or do you just never hear about it?
No, I run into it.
Okay.
It's
Not just me then.
no, it's not. Um, you know, I think sometimes it boils down to like you said. I think you said in the intro of this point, they think it's just like suggested. Like these are suggested supplements. And no, it's things that we've found to optimize results with a good diet to work. And so, again, if your budget is an issue, then I like it when people write me back and they say, you know what, I can't take those 8 things. I can take 4. Can you give me the top 4? And I'll say,
Yeah.
okay, this isn't going to be optimal, but my top 4 would be this. I would much rather that than them just pick or not take it at all. But yeah, I mean, I've had times where, people are on SIBO protocols and they then tell me they didn't take the probiotics. They couldn't afford it. And I'm like, all right, well, okay, we didn't really re-inoculate very much the whole time. Yeah, I mean, it happens. But again, if you're out there listening, just ask, say, this is out of my budget, but I do want to take what's really necessary. Can you give me that? And a lot of times I say, well, I don't put anything on there that's not going to help you, but nothing is necessary. But here's the top 4 that are the best.
Yeah. Yeah, mine are always for my natural athletes prepping for a show. It's mandatory that they're taking Cordy's, they're taking my hormone optimizer, and then the other basics. Like they really do need to take those basics. And dude, Thyro Boost is becoming almost a mandatory for people in prep because I'm seeing over the last 2 years, I'm seeing my people get leaner, easier. They're eating more food.
Yeah, there's less down regulation of the thyroid.
Yeah, I mean, there's supplements that you and I have that we created because we have a job to do. Like that's what it is. It's not about how much money you make. You make money because they fucking work. So I don't know. I know like my folks are laughing and they're smiling. They know I love them. So yes, this is me busting your chops. So you deserve it and get on your fucking creatine. So, guys, just a reminder, if you ever want to hit us up, we do have a pretty good list of guests to get on the show. Like I said, we've just been kind of slow, but I've got another 4 people lined up. I need to talk to Lacey Dunn. She just released a really good hormone for women, women's hormones book that I ordered, and I'm getting ready to read through it. I'd like to get her on the show to talk about that. I know you guys have done some stuff with Lacey over on the Excellence Cartel.
Yeah.
I'd like to get her on, and we've got some really good guests lined up. But our next one, man, it's going to be all about your prep. So get ready, man. I'm going to dig all deep in your ass on that one. And
All
we're
right.
going to see about juggling stuff, life, personal, just the whole 9 yards. So it's going to be fun, man. Anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think we did a pretty good justice.
Yeah, me too. All right. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. For myself and Jason, we're out of here. See you guys.